I stood in my boss's office, watching as he slid my termination papers across his desk while explaining the accusations my best friend had made about me. Her text message lit up my phone. It wasn't personal, just business. 10 years of friendship, shattered by ambition. The summons to HR comes at 4:45 p.m. on a Tuesday. Nothing in Diane's voice hints at what's waiting when she calls my extension. Alex, can you come to the conference room? Rebecca would like to speak with you. Rebecca is our HR director. I've exchanged maybe 10 words with her in my 3 years at Meridian Marketing. Whatever this is, it's not routine. I save the client presentation I've been finalizing, smooth my skirt, and walk calmly toward the glass-walled conference room. Through the transparency, I can see them waiting. Rebecca, her expression professionally neutral. Carl, the company's legal counsel, and Martin, my department head. No one is smiling. My stomach tightens, but my face reveals nothing as I open the door. You wanted to see me? Alex, please sit down, Rebecca says, gesturing to the chair positioned across from the three of them. Classic termination setup. I'd recognize it from a mile away, having witnessed others escorted from the building over the years. But why me? My last performance review was stellar. The Jenkins campaign I led brought in record revenue. I just secured the Axion account last month after a year-long pursuit. There's no easy way to say this, Martin begins, not quite meeting my eyes. We're terminating your employment, effective immediately. The words hang in the air. Despite the warning signs of this ambush meeting, hearing it stated so boldly sends a cold shock through me. On what grounds? My voice remains steady. Rebecca slides a folder across the table. We've received substantial evidence that you've been sharing proprietary client information with competitors. Additionally, there are documented instances of you taking credit for team members' work and deliberately undermining colleagues. I stare at the folder without opening it. None of this is true. Not a single word. Who made these allegations? I ask, though part of me already knows. We're not at liberty to disclose our sources, Carl interjects smoothly. But I can assure you the evidence is compelling and has been thoroughly vetted. I'd like to see this evidence. Rebecca nods toward the folder. A summary is provided there. The company emails, altered presentations, and documented client leaks speak for themselves. I open the folder. Inside are screenshots of emails I never wrote, presentations modified from their originals, and a timeline of supposed infractions going back 6 months. The work is meticulous, detail-oriented, and entirely fabricated. I didn't do any of this, I say quietly. These emails are doctored. These presentations have been altered. Alex, Martin sighs, like he's disappointed in me. We understand this is difficult, but denying it only makes things worse. Multiple sources have confirmed these incidents. Multiple sources. But I know there's really only one that matters. Only one person with enough access, enough understanding of my work, enough knowledge of my clients to create such a perfect frame. Megan. My best friend. My cubicle neighbor for 3 years. The person who holds the spare key to my apartment, who was maid of honor at my sister's wedding, who I comforted through her divorce last year. Is Megan in the building? I ask. The brief glance exchanged between Rebecca and Martin confirms everything. This meeting is about your termination, not about other employees, Rebecca redirects. You'll be escorted to your desk to collect personal belongings. Your access cards and company devices must be surrendered immediately. They outline the termination package. 2 weeks severance. No references. Non-disclosure agreements I'm required to sign. I half listen, my mind racing ahead to what this means. My reputation in the industry. My mortgage payments. The clients who trusted me. I sign where indicated, my signature perfectly legible despite the trembling I feel inside. Years of maintaining composure in challenging client meetings serves me well now. Security waits outside the conference room, a final humiliation. As we approach my desk, I see Megan watching from her cubicle. Her expression is a masterpiece of practiced sympathy, but her eyes are triumphant. I collect my personal items methodically. the photo of my sister's family, the desk plant my mother gave me, my spare shoes. Everything fits into a single box, pathetically small for 3 years of my professional life. As security guides me toward the elevator, Megan steps into our path. "Alex, I just heard," she says, her voice pitched perfectly for concerned colleagues to overhear. "I'm so sorry this is happening." I look at her, really look at her, and see the person beneath the performance for the first time. "Was it worth it?" I ask quietly. She steps closer, lowering her voice. "It wasn't personal, Alex. It was a business decision." The elevator doors open. I step inside, turning to face the office one last time. Megan stands in the center of the floor, already fielding questions from curious coworkers, her hand pressed to her heart in a gesture of distress. The doors close. I hold the box of my belongings against my chest like a shield. It wasn't personal. The words echo as the elevator descends. 3 years of friendship. Countless shared secrets. Professional mentorship. Holidays spent with each other's families. It wasn't personal. By the time I reach the lobby, I've made my first decision. I will not break down here. Not in this building. Not where anyone from Meridian might witness it. I walk through the revolving door and into the crisp autumn air, my back straight, my pace unhurried. Only when I'm in my car, in the furthest corner of the parking garage, do I allow myself a single moment of weakness, one deep, shuddering breath that fogs the windows. Then I start the engine. Because while Megan might think this is over, I understand something she doesn't. This is just the beginning. The first 24 hours after being fired pass in a blur of practical logistics. I call my bank to rearrange automatic payments. I update my LinkedIn profile without explanation. I text my sister with a vague reference to career changes to preempt any worried calls. I do not see her wide. By the second day, the shock has crystallized into something colder, sharper. I sit at my kitchen table, notebook open, coffee untouched, and begin a systematic assessment of my situation. Financial impact: 6 months of savings to cover essential expenses. Mortgage payment due in 3 weeks. Healthcare coverage ending at month's end. Professional impact: 3 years at Meridian erased from my resume unless I can clear my name. Industry connections potentially poisoned by whatever narrative Megan is spinning. Legal position: termination for cause. No obvious wrongful termination claim without evidence of Megan's deception. I've always been methodical in crisis. It's what made me exceptional at my job, the ability to break down catastrophes into manageable pieces. I turn to a fresh page and write a new heading: warning signs, because they were there, weren't they? Small moments I dismissed, explained away, or overlooked entirely. Megan's increasing interest in the Jenkins account after I was given lead. "Just trying to learn from the best," she'd said, her casual questions about the Axion pitch. "If you share your approach, I can make sure my part aligns perfectly." The way she'd begun copying Martin on emails that didn't require his input. Building her visibility with management, her subtle comments about my work schedule when I took 3 days off for my sister's wedding. "The Jenkins team really needed direction while you were gone. Good thing I could step in." Each incident seemed insignificant alone. Together, they form a pattern I was too trusting to recognize. My phone buzzes with a text. "Speak of the devil, Megan. Hey, I know you're probably upset. Let me explain over coffee? This doesn't have to ruin our friendship." I set the phone down without responding. Another buzz. "Megan, Alex, please. There are things you don't understand about the situation. It's complicated." I turn the phone face down. Whatever explanation she offers won't change what she did. I need facts, not justifications. My laptop sits closed on the table, containing the next step I've been avoiding. With a deep breath, I open it and log into my personal email. From there, I access the cloud drive where I've kept backup copies of major projects, not company property, just my portfolio of campaign concepts and execution strategies. I need to compare these originals against whatever forgeries Megan created 0.5 hours later. I have my first concrete understanding of the depth of her betrayal. She didn't just doctor a few emails or alter a presentation. She constructed an elaborate 6-month narrative of my professional decline, subtle at first, then increasingly damning. Email timestamps manipulated to make it appear I was sharing information with competitors days before their surprisingly similar campaigns launched. Presentation drafts altered to remove my contributions and emphasize hers. Then strategically shared with Martin. Meeting notes edited to position her as the strategic thinker while painting me as resistant to collaboration. The work is detailed, patient, and thorough. This wasn't an impulsive act of sabotage. This was a calculated campaign. As evening falls, my phone buzzes with calls from colleagues, Drew from the creative team, Justine from accounts, even Lisa, my former assistant. I let them go to voicemail, not ready to hear what questions or accusations they might have. When I finally listen to the messages, I'm surprised. They're confused, concerned, even suspicious of the official narrative. "This doesn't make sense, Alex," Drew says. "I've never known you to take credit for anyone's work. Something feels off about all this." Justine is more direct. "Megan's already been moved into your office and assigned the Axion account. Awfully convenient timing, don't you think?" Lisa's message is shortest but most revealing. "She's been accessing your computer when you're at lunch. For months." I should have said something sooner. So there are witnesses. People who noticed things I didn't. Potential allies, but I'm not ready to mobilize them yet. First, I need more information. More evidence. A clearer picture of exactly what happened and who else might have been involved. That night, I finally allow myself to feel the loss, not just of my job, but of a friendship I believed was genuine. I give myself exactly 1 hour to grieve, sitting on my bedroom floor with a glass of wine, scrolling through photos of Megan and me at company retreats, holiday parties, weekend hikes. Then I wash my face, set the wine glass in the sink, and return to my notebook. Beneath the heading Next Steps, I write, 1. Contact IT friends for help recovering original emails. 2. Speak with clients directly when possible. 3. Consult employment attorney. 4. Document timeline of suspicious activity. 5. Build professional portfolio with undeniable proof of my work by morning. The grief has hardened into resolve. I shower, dress in the same professional attire I'd wear to the office, and make calls, not to Meridian colleagues, not yet, but to peripheral contacts who might have pieces of the puzzle without realizing it, former vendors who worked on my campaigns, agency partners on joint projects, the bartender at the industry hangout where Megan and I often had work drinks. With each conversation, I express mild confusion about my departure from Meridian, allowing them to fill in what they've heard. I listen more than I speak. I take meticulous notes. By day's end, a pattern emerges. Megan has been positioning herself as my successor for months, offhandedly mentioning to clients that she was increasingly handling the strategic direction of accounts, suggesting to vendors that I was struggling with the workload and she was picking up the slack, planting seeds of doubt about my reliability. When my phone rings again with Megan's number, I finally answer, my voice perfectly composed. "Alex, thank God you picked up." Her relief sounds genuine. "Can we please talk about what happened? There's so much you don't understand." "Actually," I reply calmly, "I think I'm beginning to understand quite well. Look, I know how this looks, but I've got to go, Megan. I have an appointment." "Wait." "Alex," I end the call and turn back to my notebook. In the margin, I make a final note. She's watching to see if I'll fight back, or if I'll simply disappear. I have no intention of disappearing. 1 week after my termination, I sit in a coffee shop 6 blocks from Meridian's offices, laptop open, watching an email download that shouldn't exist. Across from me, Marcus from IT support looks nervously over his shoulder despite the fact that we're nowhere near the company. I'm risking my job sending you this, he whispers, though no one is listening. But what they did tell you wasn't right. Marcus and I were never friends, barely acquaintances, but apparently he has a strong sense of justice and a stronger dislike of Megan, who he claims once tried to blame him for losing files she had deleted herself. I appreciate this more than I can say, I tell him. I just need to understand what actually happened. The backup server archives everything for compliance purposes, he explains. Emails, shared drive documents, login records. If someone accessed your computer or manipulated files, the evidence is there. You just need to know where to look. The download completes 3 months of server logs and email archives that Marcus pulled during system maintenance. I'll have to analyze it carefully at home, away from public eyes. Why are you helping me? I ask as he stands to leave. He hesitates. Because you're not the first person this has happened to. My breath catches. At Meridian? No. But Megan's only been with the company 3 years. Same as you, right? He adjusts his glasses nervously. My cousin worked with her at Davenport Agency before that. Similar situation. Rising stars suddenly accused of ethical violations, fired, and guess who got their position? The information settles like a weight in my stomach. Your cousin. Did they fight it? No. Industry's too small, didn't want the reputation of being difficult. He shrugs. Last I heard, they left marketing altogether. After Marcus leaves, I stay, sipping cold coffee, processing this new information. Not an isolated incident. A pattern. Possibly a career built on systematic sabotage. I spend the weekend analyzing the data Marcus provided, barely sleeping, sustaining myself on delivery food and determination. What emerges is damning. Login records showing Megan accessing my computer while I was in meetings she had suggested I handle alone. Original emails next to doctored versions, with key details altered to suggest impropriety on my part. Tracked changes in presentations showing wholesale removal of my strategic elements, followed by emails to Martin presenting her improved approach. Most importantly, a message thread between Megan and Martin from 2 months ago, when she first began laying groundwork. For my removal, Megan, I'm concerned about the direction of the Axion pitch. Alex's approach seems dangerously similar to what Crescent Agency used for North Star last quarter. Martin, how would she even have access to Crescent's strategy? Megan, I'm not suggesting anything intentional. Maybe unconscious influence? I just worry about potential client reaction if they notice the similarity. Seed planted. Doubt introduced. No direct accusation, just concerned collegiality. By Monday morning, I have a comprehensive timeline of Megan's campaign against me, but I need more. I need context. I need witnesses. I call Lisa, my former assistant, and ask to meet for lunch. She agrees immediately, suggesting a restaurant far from Meridian's offices. I've been hoping you'd call, she says when we meet, her expression a mixture of guilt and relief. I should have warned you something was happening. Tell me what you saw, I say. For the next hour, Lisa outlines a pattern of behavior I was too trusting to notice. Megan volunteering to deliver documents to my clients when Lisa could have easily handled it, giving her private FaceTime. Megan scheduling meetings between Martin and my team for times she knew I had conflicts. Megan slowly positioning herself as an essential intermediary between me and my own projects. The day before you were fired, she asked me for your client contact list, Lisa confesses. Said you'd asked her to handle some outreach while you focused on the Jenkins renewal. It seemed odd, but she was so confident, and you two were so close. It's not your fault, I assure her. She was convincing because she'd earned my trust too. There's something else. Lisa hesitates. The morning of your termination, I overheard Megan on the phone. She said, "It's happening today. I'll have the Axion account by end of week." I thought she meant some pitch you two were working on. Now I realize she knew I was being fired before it happened, I finish. Because she orchestrated it. Lisa nods miserably. I've been updating my resume. The office feels toxic now. Megan's been promoted to your position, but nobody's celebrating. It's like everyone senses something wrong happened, but no one can prove it. After lunch, I make 2 more calls to Justine from accounts and Drew from creative. Both agree to meet. Both have pieces of the puzzle to contribute. Justine reveals that Megan had been meeting privately with Martin for months, ostensibly to discuss team dynamics concerns. Drew confirms that original campaign concepts I developed had been retroactively credited to team collaboration in official documentation, with Megan positioned as the strategic lead. The weirdest part, Drew says, is how she's rewriting history. Yesterday, she told the creative team she'd always had concerns about your approach to the Jenkins campaign, the same campaign she publicly praised you for at the success party 3 months ago. By Wednesday, I've spoken with 7 former colleagues. Each conversation adds detail to the picture, Megan systematically undermining me while maintaining the appearance of supportive friendship. Megan fabricating evidence of ethical violations. Megan positioning herself as the natural successor to my clients and responsibilities. The final piece comes from an unexpected source, Rachel, a receptionist at Davenport Agency, Megan's previous employer. After hearing from Marcus about his cousin's experience, I reached out under the pretense of a reference check. Megan Turner. Rachel says, her tone instantly cooling. Oh, I remember her well. You do. I keep my voice neutral, professional. Hard to forget. After she left, we had to rebuild half our client relationships. She'd been telling them our senior account director was mishandling their business, positioning herself as their real advocate within the agency. When he was suddenly terminated, clients were calling with concerns she'd planted. 3 accounts nearly walked. What happened to the account director? I ask, though I already suspect the answer. Took a job in another state. Consulting, I think. Megan got his position, his office, his parking space. Rachel pauses. 6 months later, she resigned for a better offer elsewhere. Left scorched earth behind her. I thank Rachel and end the call, turning to the evidence wall I've created in my home office. Printouts of emails, timeline charts, witness statements, employment dates. The pattern is undeniable. Megan doesn't just want success. She wants replacement. She identifies mentors, gains their trust, studies their methods, and then systematically eliminates them, assuming not just their positions but their professional identities. And I was just her latest target. My phone buzzes with a text. The 3rd from Megan today. Megan, it's been over a week, Alex. We should talk like adults. This silence is childish. I don't respond. Not yet. Because while Megan believes she's won, that I've retreated to lick my wounds, I've actually been building a case. Methodically. Thoroughly. With the same attention to detail she used to destroy my career. The difference is, my evidence is real. I turn back to my laptop and open the email draft I've been perfecting, addressed to Martin, copying Rebecca from HR and the CO I've never met. The subject line reads simply, evidence of fraudulent termination. My finger hovers over the send button. Not yet. The timing isn't right, because I don't just want my reputation restored. I want Megan to understand exactly what it feels like when the foundation you've built crumbles beneath you. First, I need to contact an employment attorney. Then, I need to identify the perfect moment to release what I've discovered, when it will have maximum impact not just at Meridian, but across our entire industry, because Megan was wrong about one crucial thing. This isn't business. This is absolutely personal. The offices of Preston and Associates occupy the 27th floor of a downtown high-rise. Floor-to-ceiling windows offer panoramic city views, including, I note with grim appreciation, the Meridian Marketing Building 8 blocks away. Eliza Preston has a reputation as the city's most formidable employment attorney, particularly in cases involving professional sabotage and defamation. Your documentation is impressive, she says, reviewing the evidence I've compiled. Most people in your position act emotionally. They storm out, send angry emails, burn bridges. You've been remarkably strategic. I had a good teacher, I reply dryly. Megan's takedown of my career was nothing if not methodical. Eliza nods, setting aside the folder. Let's discuss your objectives. Do you want your job back? I consider this briefly. No, I wouldn't trust Meridian's leadership after this. They accepted fabricated evidence without proper investigation. Financial compensation, then? That's secondary. Primarily, I want my professional reputation restored and Megan's actions exposed. Eliza leans back, studying me. That's refreshingly straightforward. Here's our situation. You have compelling evidence of deliberate professional sabotage. Meridian failed to follow proper investigative procedures before termination. The defamatory statements about your conduct have damaged your professional standing. She outlines our options: a formal legal demand for retraction and compensation, or a more nuanced approach, focusing on reputation restoration with the implied threat of legal action. Given your industry, she continues, I recommend the second approach. A public legal battle might clear your name, but could label you as litigious in a relationship-driven field. What do you suggest instead? A carefully orchestrated campaign to restore your reputation while simultaneously exposing the truth about your termination. She taps the evidence folder. This material is powerful, but timing and delivery are crucial. I think of the annual Marketing Excellence event happening in 3 weeks, the industry's most significant gathering where Meridian will undoubtedly showcase their newest accounts, including my former clients. I might know just the right moment, I tell her. After establishing my legal strategy with Eliza, I turn to rebuilding my professional network. This requires delicacy. I need allies without appearing desperate or vengeful. I start with former clients from jobs prior to Meridian. Casual coffee meetings where I mention my departure from Meridian without details, focusing instead on my future plans. I'm selective about whom I contact, prioritizing those with connections to my former clients at Meridian. James Richards, VP of Marketing at Teleron Systems, meets me at an upscale cafe on Thursday. We worked together 2 years ago on a successful product launch. I was surprised to hear you'd left Meridian, he says after preliminaries. Especially with the Axion campaign just beginning. Richard at Axion spoke highly of your strategy. I maintain a neutral expression. Things changed unexpectedly. How is Richard? We had excellent rapport during the pitch process. Confused, actually. He was told you'd been reassigned, then later that you'd left the company. Now he's working with someone named Megan who claims she developed the strategy he initially approved. I sip my coffee, allowing a moment of carefully calculated openness. That's concerning to hear. The Axion strategy was definitely my work. In fact, I still have my original concept documents and presentation drafts. James studies me. Is something happening at Meridian people should know about? I'm not at liberty to discuss the details of my departure, I say smoothly. But I would be concerned about consistency in account management. The seed is planted, not accusation, just professional concern. BY week's end. I've had similar conversations with 5 strategic contacts, each leaving with subtle questions about Meridian's account management stability. I've also begun rebuilding my professional credentials beyond Meridian, securing a guest speaking slot at a digital marketing workshop and publishing a thought leadership article in an industry journal. Meanwhile, I construct a professional portfolio website showcasing my work, including the campaigns Megan claimed as her own. Each project is meticulously documented with original drafts, client testimonials from before my termination, and results data. The evidence of my contributions is incontrovertible, contrasting starkly with whatever narrative Megan has constructed. On Friday afternoon, my phone rings with a number I don't recognize. Alex? It's Richard Chin from Axion. My pulse quickens, but my voice remains steady. Richard, it's good to hear from you. This is awkward, he begins. I received your professional portfolio link. The Axion strategy outlined there, that's definitely what sold us on Meridian. But your replacement is claiming primary authorship. That must be confusing, I say carefully. Frankly, it's concerning. We chose Meridian largely based on your approach. Now I'm hearing you were removed for ethical violations, which doesn't align with my experience working with you. I allow a pause. I can't comment on Meridian's internal matters, but I stand by my work and my professional ethics. Would you be open to a conversation? Off the record. Richard asks. I'm trying to make sense of this situation. Of course. I value our professional relationship. After arranging a meeting with Richard, I check my industry event calendar. The annual Marketing Excellence event is now 17 days away. Meridian will be there in force, possibly even showcasing my work on the Axion and Jenkins campaigns. Megan will certainly attend, likely expected to represent accounts she's inherited from me. It's the perfect backdrop for the truth to emerge. I send a brief email to Eliza Preston updating her on my progress, then turn to my evidence wall. It's time to prepare the final presentation, concise, irrefutable documentation of Megan's sabotage and my professional contributions, packaged for maximum impact. My phone buzzes with a LinkedIn notification. Martin, my former department head, has viewed my profile. Minutes later, another notification. Megan has also viewed it. My portfolio website analytics show visitors from Meridian's IP address spending significant time reviewing my project documentation. They're watching me. Good, because while they believe I'm simply attempting to rebuild from the ruins, they don't realize I'm actually positioning every piece for what comes next. 2 weeks after my termination, I send a carefully crafted email to Martin. Not accusatory, not emotional, simply professional correspondence containing 3 attachments: my original Jenkins campaign strategy from my home files, the server backup showing alterations made to that document while I was in client meetings, and login records showing those changes occurred from my computer during times I was provably elsewhere. The subject line reads, "Discrepancy for your awareness." The body text is minimal. Martin, these concerning discrepancies came to my attention during review of my portfolio materials. Given their serious nature, I felt professional obligation to bring them to your attention. Regards, Alex. No accusations. No demands. Just enough evidence to plant serious doubt without revealing my full hand. I send it on Tuesday morning, when I know Martin always blocks time for catching up on emails. By afternoon, my phone shows his number calling. I let it go to voicemail. His message is terse. "Alex, we should discuss the materials you sent. Please call me at your earliest convenience." I don't call back. Not yet. Timing matters. Instead, I proceed with the next phase, direct outreach to Richard Chen at Axion, my former client and Megan's newest acquisition. Our meeting takes place at a restaurant 20 miles from the city, minimizing the chance of industry observers. "I appreciate you making the drive," Richard says as we settle at a corner table. "This situation has put me in an awkward position." "I understand. How is the campaign progressing?" Richard sighs. "That's part of the issue. The strategy presented in our kickoff meeting last week was significantly different from what we initially approved. When I questioned the changes, Megan insisted this was the approach she had developed from the beginning, and what you presented had been conceptual only." I nod, listening. "The problem," he continues, "is that I have the original presentation with my notes. The changes aren't improvements, they're significant departures from what made us choose Meridian." He hesitates. "She implied you had misrepresented capabilities that couldn't be executed." Rather than defending myself immediately, I ask, "What would be most helpful for you right now, Richard?" "Clarity. I need to know if I've misplaced my trust in Meridian." I open my portfolio and remove a sealed envelope. This contains the complete development history of the Axion strategy, including original concept documents, research, and the presentation you approved. You'll also find email exchanges between us discussing specific elements you were particularly interested in. Richard examines the materials, his expression growing increasingly troubled. "This matches my understanding of the strategy we approved. Nothing like what's being implemented now." "I can't tell you how to proceed with Meridian," I say carefully. "But I believe you deserve the campaign you were promised." By the time our lunch concludes, I've neither disparaged Meridian directly nor made accusations against Megan. I've simply provided facts that allow Richard to draw his own conclusions. Later that afternoon, I meet with Justine, my former colleague from accounts, at a coffee shop near her apartment. Martin's been locked in his office all day, she reports. HR has been in and out, and the legal counsel too. How's Megan? Acting strange. 1 minute overly confident, the next checking her phone constantly. She had a call with Axion that didn't seem to go well. Justine leans forward. What did you do? Provided information where it was needed. Well, whatever it was, it's causing waves. Martin asked me yesterday about the timeline for the Jenkins campaign credit reassignment. Wanted to know if I had records of who originated the strategy. I take a slow sip of coffee. And do you? Finance tracks everything, Alex. Every billable hour, every project code. The system doesn't lie, even when people do. By evening, I've spoken with 4 former colleagues who have become unofficial allies, each positioned to observe reactions at Meridian without drawing suspicion. Drew from Creative, Lisa, my former assistant, Justine from Accounts, and, surprisingly, Martin's executive assistant Vanessa, who reached out independently after seeing evidence Martin was reviewing. I've worked with Martin for 7 years, Vanessa confides during our brief phone call. He looks physically ill. Whatever you sent him hit hard. I thank her for the information, then turn to my computer to execute the next phase, activating my professional portfolio site with complete project histories, including a detailed case study of the Axion strategy Megan now claims as her own. I share the link strategically to professional organizations where I'm a member, to former clients and colleagues outside Meridian, and to selected industry influencers with a simple note: excited to share my portfolio of work from the past 5 years. No mention of Meridian. No reference to my termination. Simply my work, comprehensively documented, contradicting the narrative Megan has constructed without directly challenging it. By 10 p.m., Martin has called twice more. Megan has sent 3 texts, shifting from professional concern to thinly veiled anxiety. Megan, I heard you met with Richard from Axion. We should talk about client contact post-separation. Megan, Martin is asking strange questions about the Jenkins campaign. Did you say something to him? Megan, this isn't the way to handle things, Alex. You're making a professional mistake that will follow you. I don't respond to any of them. Instead, I send a brief, professional email to the organizer of the upcoming annual Marketing Excellence event, confirming my attendance as an independent consultant. I copy several industry contacts, ensuring word of my attendance will circulate. The following morning brings the reaction I've been waiting for: a formal email from Rebecca in HR requesting a meeting to discuss new information regarding your separation from Meridian. I forward it to Eliza Preston, who responds within minutes. Perfect. They're scrambling. Respond that you're available to meet with proper legal representation present. Copy me. Do not meet alone. I do exactly that, then turn to the wall calendar where I've marked the industry event, now just 10 days away. Red pushpins mark the key players who will be present: Martin, Megan, Richard from Axion, representatives from Jenkins and other clients, and industry peers who can influence my professional future. My phone buzzes again. Megan calling. This time I answer. Alex, she sounds breathless, relieved. Finally, we need to talk. About what? My voice is neutral, betraying nothing. Things are getting complicated. Martin's asking questions I can't answer. Axion is threatening to review their contract. What did you tell them? The truth. A pause. Look, I know you're upset about how things ended, but this approach isn't helping anyone. Maybe we can find a solution that works for both of us. What did you have in mind? I could speak to Martin about bringing you back as a consultant. Frame it as a misunderstanding. We could work together again. I almost admire the audacity. After systematically destroying my career, she's offering a subordinate position as a peace offering. That's an interesting proposal, I say evenly. I'll be at the Excellence event next week. Perhaps we can discuss it there. Her relief is palpable. Yes, perfect. We can sort this out face to face. After hanging up, I turn back to my evidence wall. Megan thinks she's buying time, creating an opportunity to regain control. She doesn't realize she's walking into the carefully constructed moment I've been building since the day she had me escorted from the building. The first moves have been made. The pieces are in position. Now I prepare for the final phase. The annual Marketing Excellence event transforms the Grand Meridian Hotel into a showcase of industry achievements. Agency representatives, client executives, and marketing professionals network amid displays highlighting the year's most successful campaigns. In the center of the main hall, a large Meridian marketing booth features familiar visuals, my Jenkins campaign prominently displayed, with Megan scheduled to present the case study in the afternoon breakout session. I arrive precisely on time. Dressed in a sharply tailored navy suit that projects confidence and professionalism. My entrance is neither dramatic nor apologetic. I move through the space as if I belong, nodding to acquaintances, shaking hands when approached. The initial reactions tell me everything I need to know about the rumors circulating: furtive glances, awkward hesitations, conversations that pause when I approach. Alex. James Richards from Teleron intercepts me near the refreshment table. Glad you made it. There are several people hoping to speak with you today. His emphasis on several confirms that my strategic outreach has worked. Key players are questioning the narrative Meridian has established about my departure. I'm looking forward to connecting, I reply, accepting a glass of sparkling water. How are things at Teleron? We chat briefly before James leans closer. Richard Chin is by the East display. He mentioned hoping to catch you. I thank him and move deliberately through the crowd. From across the room, I spot Megan holding court with a small group of colleagues. Her gestures are animated, her smile wide, but I catch the moment she sees me, a brief freezing of her expression before she recovers, whispering something to the person beside her. Richard Chin breaks away from a conversation as I approach. Alex, excellent timing. I was just discussing digital integration approaches with the Norwest team. He gestures to the two executives beside him. They were impressed by the Axion case study on your portfolio site. The introduction is deliberate. Richard is publicly aligning himself with me, contradicting the professional exile Megan attempted to create. We engage in shop talk, carefully avoiding direct mention of Meridian until Richard's colleagues step away. I had a lengthy conversation with Martin yesterday, Richard says, his voice lower. Asked some pointed questions about campaign authorship and account transitions. He seemed caught off guard. How did he respond? With corporate doublespeak initially. But when I mentioned having documentation of the original strategy you developed, he asked for time to review internal records. Richard adjusts his tie. This morning, I received a call from their CEO directly, asking to personally oversee our account moving forward. The ripples are spreading. I thank Richard for his integrity and move on, making my way to the Jenkins display where Drew from Creative is explaining design elements to attendees. The integrated approach was revolutionary for the sector, he's saying as I approach. He catches my eye and smoothly adds, Alex pioneered the strategy before departing. We've maintained the core framework while expanding into new channels. It's a small but significant correction to the narrative, publicly crediting my work rather than allowing Megan's appropriation to stand unchallenged. For the next hour, I navigate the event methodically, engaging in brief conversations with strategic contacts. I don't mention my termination or directly contradict Meridian's official statements. I don't have to. The evidence I've distributed through various channels in the preceding weeks is doing that work for me. At noon, the atmosphere shifts perceptibly. Martin arrives, looking harried, immediately huddled with Rebecca from HR near the entrance. Their eyes scan the room until they locate me, then Megan. Rebecca makes a phone call, speaking urgently into her cell. Something's happening, Justine murmurs, appearing beside me. The CEO just canceled his lunch meeting and is heading over. Martin looks like he might be sick. Is Megan's case study presentation still scheduled? I ask. As far as I know. 2 o'clock in the Magnolia Room. Justine hesitates. Are you planning to attend? I wouldn't miss it. By 1:30, the tension is palpable. Megan moves between conversations with increasing agitation, checking her phone repeatedly. Martin has positioned himself near the room where she's scheduled to present, interceding when clients approach. Industry peers whisper behind programs, sensing drama unfolding but unsure of its nature. I approach the Magnolia Room precisely at 1:45 when attendees begin filing in for the presentation. Megan stands at the front, arranging materials, her usual confidence visibly shaken. When she spots me taking a seat in the third row, her hands still momentarily before she continues with forced composure. At 1:55, Richard Chin enters with 2 colleagues, nodding respectfully to me before taking seats directly behind mine. At 1:58, Martin slips in, standing at the back rather than sitting. At exactly 2 o'clock, a man I recognize as Meridian's CEO enters, accompanied by Rebecca from HR, positioning themselves at the side of the room. The room falls silent as Megan steps forward to begin. Thank you all for coming. I'm excited to share the Jenkins campaign strategy and results. She launches into her presentation, clicking through familiar slides, my strategy, my approach, while claiming ownership of each element. I say nothing, expression neutral, watching as she gradually regains confidence with each unrebutted claim, until the Q&A portion. Richard Chin raises his hand first. The customer journey mapping methodology looks familiar. Isn't this the same approach used in the Axion strategy? Megan smiles tightly. Similar principles applied to different sectors. And both originated with you. Richard presses. I developed both strategies, yes. Megan glances toward Martin, who carefully avoids her gaze. Another attendee raises her hand. The case study on your website contradicts what you've presented about development timeline. Can you clarify when you first implemented this approach? Megan's smile falters. There may be some confusion about timelines and publicly available materials. Actually, I say, speaking for the first time, my voice carrying clearly through the now silent room, the confusion seems to be about authorship rather than timeline. All eyes turn to me as I stand. I have a question about ethical attribution in the industry. When campaign concepts are developed by one professional but presented by another, what is the standard for acknowledgement? The question hovers in the air, not an accusation but a pointed challenge. Megan's face drains of color as she realizes the trap she's walked into. This roomful of industry peers, clients, and executives has just witnessed her claim credit for work they're increasingly aware belongs to someone else. I think, the CEO says, stepping forward before Megan can respond, we should adjourn the session to address some internal clarifications. Meridian values accurate attribution and transparent client relationships above all else. The room buzzes as attendees gather their materials. Megan stands frozen at the front, her career unraveling before an audience of the very people whose respect she sought. As people file out, I remain seated, waiting until the room has nearly emptied before approaching her. Alex, she says, voice barely audible. This isn't what it looks like. It looks exactly like what it is, I reply calmly. Systematic professional sabotage followed by appropriation of my work. Documented, verified, and now publicly exposed. I can explain you already did, Megan. The day you had me escorted out. I meet her gaze directly. You said it wasn't personal, just business. So don't take what's happening now personally either. I turn to leave, but she grasps my arm. You don't understand. I needed to advance at any cost? To build your career by destroying others? I understand perfectly. I remove her hand from my arm. Unfortunately for you, so does everyone else now. As I walk away, Martin approaches, his expression grim. Alex, the CEO has requested a meeting with both of us. Immediately. I nod, following him toward what will undoubtedly be the first of many difficult conversations for Meridian's leadership. But as we exit the room, I glance back at Megan, still standing amid her scattered presentation materials, her carefully constructed professional identity collapsing around her. "IT wasn't personal," she'd said, "but rebuilding my reputation, reclaiming my professional standing, ensuring she couldn't do this to someone else. That was deeply personal, and unlike Megan's success, mine wasn't built on deception. It was built on the truth finally coming to light." The CEO's commandeered suite at the Grand Meridian Hotel feels like a war room. David Powell, Meridian's rarely seen chief executive, sits behind a makeshift desk, face grave. Martin occupies a chair to his left, Rebecca from HR stands near the window, and Eliza Preston, my attorney, sits beside me facing them. "This situation," Powell begins, "is unprecedented in Meridian's history. Yet entirely preventable," Eliza interjects smoothly. "Had proper investigative protocols been followed before terminating Ms. Rivers?" Powell nods stiffly. "The evidence you've provided is compelling. Martin has verified the server logs and document alterations." "And the client testimonials?" I ask, my voice calm despite the vindication flooding through me. "We've spoken with Richard Chen and James Withers from Jenkins," Powell admits. "Their accounts align with your documentation." Martin won't meet my eyes, his posture radiating discomfort. This man who accepted Megan's fabricated evidence without question now squirms under the weight of his negligence. "What happens now?" Eliza asks, though we've carefully choreographed this conversation in advance. Powell glances at a legal document on the desk, undoubtedly prepared by Meridian's counsel. "We're prepared to offer reinstatement with promotion, back pay, and a formal retraction of all allegations. Ms. Rivers isn't interested in returning to an environment that failed her so fundamentally," Eliza responds. "However, we are seeking appropriate compensation, formal vindication, and professional references reflecting her actual contributions and ethical standing." The negotiations proceed exactly as we anticipated. Powell trying to minimize public exposure, Eliza systematically outlining terms that protect my professional reputation while extracting maximum acknowledgement of wrongdoing. Throughout, I remain composed, neither gloating nor angry, simply resolute. An hour later, we exit with a signed agreement. Full severance. Substantial compensation. A formal company statement acknowledging false allegations and confirming my authorship of all campaigns in question. Letters of recommendation from Powell himself. And most importantly, a guarantee that Megan will no longer represent my work or clients. I end the hallway outside. Event attendees watch curiously as we emerge. Word has spread rapidly through the industry gathering. Something significant is unfolding at Meridian. "It's done," Eliza says quietly. "The statement will be issued by close of business today." I nod, the weight of vindication settling around me. "Thank you." As Eliza departs, Richard Chen approaches. "I just heard Megan has been suspended pending review. The CEO himself is taking over our account transitionally." "That seems appropriate," I reply. "Several clients are reconsidering their relationships with Meridian." Richard studies me carefully. "Your handling of this situation was remarkably strategic." By evening, the formal statement from Meridian circulates through industry channels. My phone buzzes constantly with messages from colleagues, clients, and industry peers, expressions of support, offers of meetings, invitations to discuss opportunities. The most telling message comes from Drew. "Megan escorted out 30 minutes ago. Security took her laptop at the door. Her office is being packed up now." I don't respond immediately. This moment isn't about celebrating Megan's downfall, but acknowledging the restoration of truth. Later that night, my doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see Megan, makeup smudged, hair disheveled, expression frantic. I don't open the door. "Alex, please," she calls through the door. "You've made your point. You've won. But you're destroying my entire career. This will follow me everywhere." I remain silent. It wasn't personal, she continues, voice cracking. I was just doing what everyone does in this industry. Playing the game. You would have done the same if you were ambitious enough. That's when I finally speak, my voice carrying clearly through the door. No, Megan. Not everyone manipulates evidence to destroy colleagues. Not everyone steals others' work. Not everyone betrays friendship for advancement. Alex, your consequences aren't my revenge. They're the natural result of your choices. Her fist pounds the door once in frustration. You've ruined everything. No, I correct her. I simply exposed the truth. You ruined everything yourself. I hear her exhale sharply, followed by retreating footsteps. Through my window, I watch her walk to her car, shoulders slumped, diminished from the confident professional who had me removed from Meridian 3 weeks ago. BY morning, the industry publications have picked up the story. Not through my efforts, Meridian's statement and Megan's dramatic removal proved too significant to ignore. The narratives focus not on scandal, but on professional ethics, on ownership of creative work, on proper investigative procedures before termination. My phone rings again, another client, another opportunity, another vindication. As I answer, I realize that while Megan thought she was writing the end of my professional story, she was actually just setting up the beginning of a powerful new chapter. 6 months after the Meridian incident, I sit in my new office overlooking the river. The glass door bears fresh lettering: Alex Rivers, Executive Creative Director. Davidson and Murray, one of Meridian's top competitors, created this position specifically for me after the industry events surrounding my departure became public. My desk holds an ironic trophy, the Marketing Excellence Award for the Jenkins campaign, officially credited to me after Meridian's retraction. Beside it sits a framed copy of Adweek's industry profile, the strategy behind the stratagem, how Alex Rivers reclaimed her professional identity. A knock interrupts my review of quarterly projections. Carolyn, formerly Richard Chen's assistant at Axion before they followed me to Davidson and Murray, pokes her head in. Your 3 o'clock is here. Also, that reporter from Marketing Pro called again about the interview. Tell her I'll call back tomorrow, I reply. And send in the 3 o'clock. The door opens wider to admit Samantha, a young professional I'm interviewing for our strategy team. Her portfolio is impressive, her references impeccable. As we talk, I notice her careful observations, her thoughtful approaches to creative problems. But I'm equally interested in something else. How do you handle attribution on collaborative projects? I ask. She considers the question seriously. I believe in clear credit structures. Everyone's contributions should be acknowledged, both internally and with clients when appropriate. I nod, making a note. After Meridian, I've instituted rigorous attribution protocols on my teams. No ambiguity about who created what. No opportunity for appropriation or misrepresentation. After Samantha leaves, I open my laptop to check the pending project's dashboard. 3 former Meridian clients have followed me to Davidson and Murray. 4 others have inquired about transitions when their contracts permit. My new team is thriving, built on principles of transparent collaboration and proper credit. Martin called last month, awkwardly offering congratulations on my new position. He mentioned in passing that Meridian has implemented new termination investigation protocols and attribution requirements for all campaign materials. Apparently, I wasn't Megan's first victim, just the first to systematically expose the pattern. As for Megan herself, industry circles report she left marketing altogether after 3 months of unsuccessful job searching. The documentation of her actions had spread too widely, her professional reputation too thoroughly damaged. I don't celebrate this knowledge, but I don't regret it either. Actions have consequences, especially in a relationship-driven industry. My phone rings. Lisa, my former assistant who now works for a digital agency across town. Have you heard? She asks without preamble. Heard what? Meridian just lost the Jenkins account. Apparently, they couldn't maintain the campaign quality after everything. I thank her for the information without expressing either pleasure or sympathy. Meridian's struggles aren't my concern anymore. My focus remains on building something stronger, more ethical, more sustainable than what I left behind. As I prepare to leave for the day, my assistant alerts me to one final meeting request, the agency's newest client, waiting in the conference room. I gather my materials and head down the hallway, reviewing the briefing notes. I push open the door and stop short. Rachel Howard, Megan's former client from Davenport Agency, sits at the table. "Alex," she greets me, standing. "I was hoping we'd work together." "Rachel," I reply, composing myself quickly. "This is unexpected. After our conversation about Megan months ago, I followed your career developments with interest. When our contract with Wallace Group ended, you were my first call." She gestures to the chair across from her. "I appreciate professionals with both strategic thinking and ethical boundaries." The irony isn't lost on me. Megan's first victim has now become my newest client. We discuss campaign objectives and timelines, establishing an easy rapport. As our meeting concludes, Rachel hesitates before gathering her materials. "I saw Megan last week," she says suddenly, "at a cafe downtown. She's working in event planning now, I believe." I nod, unsurprised. "I hope she's found a better path." She looked up and saw me. Rachel continues. "Do you know what she said? It wasn't personal. Just survival." Same words, different justification. I consider this as we walk toward the elevator. Some people never truly see their own patterns, even when those patterns destroy everything they've built. The difference between survival and success, I reply, is that one can be achieved at others' expense, but the other requires bringing people with you. As Rachel leaves, I return to my office to gather my things, reflecting on the journey from that Tuesday afternoon when security escorted me from Meridian. The professional destruction Megan intended became instead a catalyst for something stronger, a career built not just on strategic thinking, but on integrity and authentic collaboration. In the end. What Megan never understood was that true success isn't measured by titles stolen or positions attained, but by work that speaks for itself and relationships that endure beyond convenience. That understanding makes all the difference between her ending and my new beginning.